the Patriots could be questionable. There's been speculation surrounding this team about potentially trading down. Jerod Mayo is in the office today. What should the Patriots do with the number 3 overall pick to get his era started off on the right foot?
The appointments are lined up.
You waiting for somebody in there?
Got an appointment.
And it's not about what you want to hear, but what you need to hear.
It's not personal. It's strictly business. It's time you and me had a private talk, Winger. Step into my office.
It's Step Into My Office with Michael Lombardi. Mr. Lombardi, we'll see you now.
All right, Michael, a certain San Francisco 49ers wide receiver did what a lot of players do when they're unhappy or want more money. Unfollowed his team on social media. I'm talking about Brandon Aiyuk, of course, who's headed into the 5th and final year of his rookie deal. While it was reported Aiyuk initially did request a trade from the team, his agent came out, quote tweeted that report and said, "You need better sources." If you were talking to Brandon Aiyuk in this situation, how would you direct him to negotiate and navigate things here this offseason?
Well, I mean, he's got the world by the tail, right? They picked up your 5th-year option, Brandon, so that means you've got a fully guaranteed contract on your 5th year. You've coming off your best season by far. You've improved your yards per attempt by 5 yards. Think about that, 5 yards. You know, you averaged 13 yards per catch in 22, and they're up to 17.9 in 23. Tremendous season. If you put another one of those seasons, you're got an opportunity to feed off of the Justin Jefferson contract. What you don't want to do here is sign too early. Jefferson's going to be the leader. He's going to be the guy running the race. And he's going to get over 30 a year, and he's going to pass Tyreek Hill. And so the next guy, whoever he is, always benefits from that. It's like the wind shear at the Tour de France. You want to hide behind the leader of the pack and kind of let them take the wind on. Let this contract get done by Jefferson, and then just sit tight, and then let the 49ers react. And you could say, well, okay, if they draft a receiver, I could be out. No worries, you'll be a free agent next year, and some team will pay you even more money. So there's really nowhere you lose in this scenario. We know there's 16 or 17 receivers making over $20 million. That's not your interest. Your interest is, can you get closer to Devontae Adams? Can you get closer to Tyreek Hill? Can you get closer to Cooper Kupp in terms of average per year? That's what you have to work on, and patience is a virtue. Yeah. Just sit tight, do your thing, and everything will work out.
Set to make $14.1 million this year, coming off back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, and as you referenced, a career-high 1,342 this past season. While he did not officially request a trade, somebody who did, T. Higgins, told reporters at a youth football camp over the weekend he does anticipate playing for the Bengals in 2024. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler followed this up, reporting the Bengals have made it clear behind the scenes they have no plans to trade him either and want another run at a Super Bowl with Jamar Chase and Higgins on the outside. How should Higgins handle the rest of this offseason, knowing he'll likely play on the franchise tag?
Well, I think he took the first step in understanding what team he works for. As I've said many times, you're not forcing Mike Brown to do something Mike Brown don't want to do. And I know Katie Blackburn-Brown runs the team, and she's the president, and Duke Tobin's the general manager, but Mike Brown's fingerprints are all over this team, and his negotiating style is all over this team. What Mike Brown says Mike Brown's going to do. Just ask Jesse Bates. Remember, he was going to hold out and miss the whole season, and he twinkle-toed in there at the first week of the season to get his franchise contract. I think, Higgins, you're in great shape. You're going to be 25 years old next year. You're a number one receiver. You are going to get paid. Again, you're like Aiyuk. You're going to get money, and all you do is need to ride the wave of let Justin Jefferson. And some team's going to have you on top of their board next year. And maybe they'll franchise you, and you'll get angry again, but you're going to be making in the middle 20s at that point. So I think all you do is just continue to have a great season, continue to do what you're doing, and you're going to be in really good shape because you have the ability to change the game. You are truly a number one receiver. Frankly, if I were in the draft and I was going to pick a receiver at 15 or 16, before I made that pick, I'd call Mike Brown up and say, you want this? I'll take Higgins off your hands.
The tag this year worth $21.8 million, fully guaranteed. Let's head to hoops. And OKC head coach Mark Daigneault, his group secured the number one seed in the Western Conference on Sunday for the first time in more than a decade. The Thunder upped their win total from 24 to 57 over the course of 2 years under his tutelage. But they're also the youngest one seed in the postseason since seeding began in '84. How should Daigneault attack this postseason run for a young team that's never been there before?
Don't ever talk about age. Don't talk about young teams. Don't talk about age. Everything's a blank palette. It starts a new season, and how we play now is going to be what we do. Don't talk about we're young. Don't talk about inexperience. Don't talk about anything other than just play our best. We wrote about this for the Daily Coach today, and I think it applies to the Thunder tremendously. Pat Riley, when he was coaching, he brought a 2x4 into the locker room, and he laid it on the ground. And it was 12 feet long, and it was 2x4. And so Riley got up and said to the players, "You think I could walk across this 2x4? And they said, "Yeah, how hard could that be, even at your age?" And so Riley just danced across it, no problem. He said, "Well, what would happen if we raised it 20 feet in the air? Would it become a hard thing to do?" "Yeah, of course." "Well, why would you not be able to do it 20 feet in the air if you could do it on the ground?" Well, fear enters into the equation. So what Mark has to do is eliminate fear. And when you start talking about age and you start talking about inexperience, you're letting fear into the building. You're letting fear come into the equation. Keep the 2x4 on the ground. Let them really learn how to walk. And if we fall, we'll pick ourselves back up. But we have too much talent. Too much talent. This isn't about inexperience. This is about playing at a higher level.
He had a great line, by the way, in his latest media availability. When asked about his team's youth, he said, "We might have a young team, but I think we have uncommon people." The Thunder 7-1 to win the Western Conference, despite being that 1 seed. The Nuggets plus 135. Clippers 6-1. Let's go back to the NFL, where Minnesota Vikings general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah told reporters recently, it's not just getting the quarterback right. It's getting the quarterback right and the team around it. I don't think you want to necessarily go take huge swings and not be able to build a team around them. The Vikings currently sit at the number 11 pick in the NFL draft, but could trade up to get the quarterback of their future after losing Kirk Cousins this offseason, as many predict they will. Should Kwesi and the Vikings reach for a quarterback like many expect, or focus on other needs?
Well, I think he's got the right attitude. And I listening to his quotes and talking about his team building, I think Mensah is completely right. You want to have a good team. Look, Justin Herbert's a fabulous player, one of the best players in the league. But he can't get the Chargers to win. It takes a team. It takes everybody doing what you have to do, and you've got to be good in the offensive line. You've got to be good in the defensive front. You've got to have the receivers. You've got to have a young quarterback. So I think the work really is asking yourself this. If we take a quarterback, what does our team need to look like to make him most successful? That's the teams that succeed, is when they buy into the player that they draft, they fix him. Look no further than Mac Jones, right? Mac Jones, his first year in the league, played decent. Mac Jones, his third year in the league, was horrendous. Right? What was the difference? Well, McDaniels played to his strength, coached him, really helped him out. They built the team around what he could do. They didn't let him do things he couldn't do. He didn't run the team at that point. He was trying to run it in his third year. To me, that's the key. And I think ultimately what happens is you draft these guys so high, they think they become the team and they get too much pressure on them. And I think what you have to do as an organization is build around them and take the pressure off them.
The Vikings right now, plus 125 favorite to be the landing spot for former Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy. And while the Bears and Commanders are all but sealed up to be taking a quarterback, we talked about this a little bit earlier. The Patriots could be questionable. There's been speculation surrounding this team about potentially trading down. Jerod Mayo is in the office today. What should the Patriots do with the number 3 overall pick to get his era started off on the right foot?
Well, I think ultimately it comes down to your ability to evaluate the quarterbacks. You know, if you don't think you can get a quarterback that can come in and make a difference at 3, then you could certainly take a left tackle who could make a difference on your team and move forward. Now, you know your owner is going to have to be patient with this, because this is the hard thing to do. Because the hard thing to do is if you don't draft a quarterback, it puts all the pressure on you to make Brissett a better player, to then find the quarterback somewhere else. Because I don't think Robert Kraft thinks he's going to be picking in the top 10 next year, just listening to the way he talks and about how that they've gotten rid of Bill. Now they can fix all the other problems. So, you know, one thing I've learned about the NFL is, you know, owners own all the footballs. And they can talk a really good game about being loyal and being with you. But once the season starts and you start losing, all of a sudden, you know, that doesn't go as good. The patience tends to end. And a lot of pressure comes down from the media. So you're going to have to figure out a way to get patience and fix the team. And I think the way you do that is by picking a quarterback. Yeah. And that allows you some latitude within the structure. Look at Tennessee. Tennessee's had latitude, even though we don't know if Will Levis is any good, but there's hope with Will Levis.